I've dropped arguably the hardest badge to earn on almost every single legend in the game, and just the other day I accidentally even earned it on the legend who I hate playing the most. The 20 kill badge is something that almost 100% of players will never get to experience in their lifetime. After this video, you'll understand where you should be focused on practicing so that you can build the skills to be dropping 20 bombs as if it was your day job. Killing 20 players or a quarter of the lobby means that your gun skills, movement skills, and game sense is going to have to be so above everybody else that no one stands a chance against you. But what if you're the average player who's nowhere near the skill to get this near impossible achievement? What kind of steps would you need to take to not just be another kill stealing weasel? Something that you need to know is that a lot of creators here on YouTube want you to believe that getting 20 kills is easy, and all it takes is for you to follow a few easy steps. Play with friends, use certain guns, play with certain legends. Respectfully, sir, shut up! Take it from me, an Apex Spreader who's been coaching Apex for the last 2 years. Dropping 20 kills is not an easy task, even for some of the best players in the world. So make sure to stay to the end of the video because I guarantee you there is at least 5 things that you probably have never thought of before or never even heard before. I want to make very clear, the platform that you play on, whether it's Xbox, PlayStation, PC, or even the Nintendo Switch, you can be a good player anywhere you play. But there is a reason why all of the amazing players eventually make the switch to PC. Of course, the graphics get a little bit better, but the main thing is limitless skill ceilings. On a console, you're limited by your frames per second. Your input delay from the time that you shoot or turn around to the time that it actually happens in game is also going to be significantly slower. And the capabilities to perform more advanced movement is also really limited. It feels smoother even on a low-end budget PC. The movement gets more crisp and advanced, and the input doesn't feel like you're playing on your grandmother's first-gen iPad. I'm proud to say that I've partnered with Apex Gaming PCs and custom designed myself with the help of some experts to bring you 3 of the best PCs there is. If you want to check them out, I'll leave a link in the description down below, but for now, let's get into this video. Starting the video off with, in my opinion, the most important thing that you need to be working on every single day, your aim. Believe it or not, without amazing aim, you're going to be struggling to get anywhere close to 10 kills per game consistently. I like to use 3 different drills to consistently strengthen my aim and help me drop players that much faster. The first one is getting on target. Because if you can't line up that shot to begin with, even guns with 0 recoil aren't going to be able to help you get this 20 kill badge. We want to make sure that we get you breaking the habit of just playing the game and actually have you think about what you're doing in those moments. I like to make this drill even harder by not moving my crosshair in one singular direction. Instead, I do a mix of going from the middle target, outside target, outside target. This again forces you to think about how far you need to pull your thumb to go from a small movement to a medium movement to a large movement. Second drill that I like to practice is my recoil control, because if you can't shoot straight, you'll struggle at all ranges, and without solid recoil control, you can't do huge amounts of damage. To practice my recoil, I like to use 2 different methods. The first is pattern control, and the second is aim smoothing at various ranges. If you don't know what either are, make sure to go check out this video right here where I show you how to control recoil in 5 different ways. Now, aim smoothing is basically when you pull your right stick or your right hand perfectly sideways, which gets rid of the up and down recoil almost entirely. But obviously, if you pull only sideways, you're going to come off your target. To fix this, you're going to want to strafe in the opposite direction that you're turning your legend. Now, a pro tip that pretty much no one will ever tell you, do not accelerate faster and faster. Aim smoothing is a lot like driving a car. Once you hit that comfortable speed, you're going to coast and keep at that speed the entire time. Just like when you're aim smoothing, once you pull your thumb out to the right or to the left and you hit a certain speed, you're going to leave your thumb there and let it coast. The quicker that you accelerate, the more that you're going to come off target and you're going to have to overcorrect multiple times. Now, the second recoil method is called pattern control. Pattern control is when you just pull the opposite direction of the weapon's recoil pattern. Now, what most people know is that every weapon has its own recoil pattern. But what most people do not know is that every category of weapon has its own general recoil pattern. For example, all of the heavy weapons, including the Spitfire, because it used to be a heavy gun back in the day, like to recoil kick up into the left, meaning to control them, you would typically pull down into the right. This is the same thing for all of the light guns. Their general recoil pattern is up into the right. So to generally control a light weapon, you want to make sure that you're pulling down into the left. And like I briefly mentioned before, every weapon has its own very specific pattern. If you don't know exactly what the pattern is for that weapon, make sure that you join our Discord server. It's completely free, and we have a bot where all you have to do is type in ! followed by the name of the weapon, and it will show you the exact recoil pattern of that weapon. Now you just need to start practicing your tracking so that your laser beams actually hit shots. We're going to start changing the settings with the dummies by hopping into the firing range settings. If you don't know where that is, look at the top right corner of their screen. It's going to tell you to hold a specific button. That will open up the settings menu for you. There's only 3 settings that we want to change. First is the dummies shield settings. We want to make sure that we turn this on to mythic. This is going to make sure that we really focus on tracking and hitting our shots so that we can kill these dummies. The second setting is we want to make sure that we activate the dummies strafe. You can put this either on constant, or you can make this a little bit harder by putting it on random. And the last setting that we want to make sure that we change is turning on the strafe speed. You can put this on walk, but I suggest you put it on run. This just means that it's going to move a lot faster, and again, forcing you to really focus on that tracking ability. Now, if you really want to take up your tracking game to the next level, I suggest actually hopping into mixtape. This way, you're going to be able to play with a bunch of different guns and actually fight legitimate humans and get to react to a wide variety of movements. If you can, do it without aim assist. Now, something that most players should know by now is that the controller that you use actually does matter. I stopped using the Elite Series 2 because it has the most stick drift and the worst input delay out of any controller that I've ever played with. And that's why I chose to partner with AIM Controllers and Cinch Gaming to bring the Apex and gaming community the best savings on the best pro controllers. AIM is the only company that uses licensed Xbox and PlayStation controllers with back paddles. On top of that, they have a lifetime warranty on all of their custom parts on the controller, unlike the Elite controller that's broken out of the box. And I also really love Cinch because they have an anti-stick drift software built into their thumbsticks. On top of that, they also have a 4 or 2 back button option for their controllers. I've actually been using this custom built Cinch controller for the last couple of months, and I have to say, it has the best feeling thumbsticks that I've ever felt within the last 3 or 4 years. Now, if you want to save yourself a couple bucks and check out these custom controllers, the links will be in the description down below, and you can use code District with AIM controllers, and you can also use code FINALBOSS with Cinch controllers. Now that you're comfortable locking on the people and dropping them like it's nothing, we need to start working on this other really important step, and that's not dying. Now remember, you won't win every single fight that you take, and even pros miss their shots or they slip up. Hell, maybe the guy you're fighting hits a 360 no-scope and manages to headshot you and completely change the course of that fight and your odds at winning. In cases like this, where things aren't going our way, it's important that we focus on staying alive, because you can't keep getting kills if you're dead. To stay alive, you're going to want to back up quickly and create some space. You can do this mechanically, like using basic or advanced movements such as tap strafes and wall jumps, or you can do this using your abilities, something like throwing a Gibby bubble backwards, or using a horizon lift and flying away, using the Wraith face and going into the void, putting a Bangalore smoke between you and your enemy so that they can't see you with that line of sight. With the extra space that you create between you and your opponent, it adds a buffer and time for you to analyze the situation and figure out if you need to heal or if you're going to have to turn on this guy and fight him as he runs through the open. And I know what you're probably thinking, but if I'm almost dead, isn't running away just going to get me killed? Of course it can, but would you rather take 200 damage to the face and guarantee you die in front of him? Or would you rather take 50 damage in the back, have a chance to reset, and then try again later in the future? You see, when you back away from someone and you create space between you and them, only way that person is going to be able to kill you is if they come to you and actually put you in their line of sight. Meaning, by backing away and creating open space, that player is now forced, if they want to kill you, to run through the open. It's time to focus on not getting shit on, because there may be moments where someone might hit a crazy shot on you and really take a lot of health away, but for the most part, we can control if we get lasered or not. Remember, your goal is to be shooting non-stop, leading to you picking up kill after kill. And if you're having to constantly heal, then you're forced to step out of that gunfight. And the time that it takes for you to disengage, move away, heal up, and come back all keeps you from shooting and constantly picking up those kills. With how fast the lobby dies nowadays, you need every single second that you can get to be shooting your gun. So I'm going to outline a couple rules that you should be trying to follow every single time you take a fight. Rule number 1, always fight from cover. Otherwise, you're going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. Rule number 2, always make sure you have some room between you and your opponents. This keeps you from getting aped easily. Like how I mentioned earlier in the video on how to stay alive, when you have space between you and your opponent, it gives you that extra time to catch them as they move through the open and try to advance on you. And again, if someone gets right on top of you, it's really hard to get away, meaning that they can put in a large chunk of damage instantaneously. Versus if you have space between you and them, then they're not going to be able to get close to you, and they're not going to be able to put in a massive amount of damage and force you to be in the open with them. Rule number 3, do not go for one clips. Everything you do to someone, they can do right back to you. Instead, shoot half or third of your magazine per peek. This way, when you duck back into cover and they continue to shoot at nothing, you're going to be able to keep all of that extra ammo and use that against them. Now, quick note though, a good exception to this rule is if the person just isn't really looking at you to begin with. Rule number 4, play as tight as you can to your cover. The further that you are from your cover, the more damage you're going to take when you decide to go back to your cover. So if you're out in the open hoping to get a good shot on someone and then they break you, Now you're trying to work your way back, and that entire time you're taking damage. The further you are, the more likely you are to get a massive chunk taken off of you, or even possibly get knocked. Alright, now that you're lasering people without getting lasered yourself, and even when you do get shit on, you manage to recover, get back into the fight, and clutch up, we need to still work on a couple other things. Everything that we've been talking about up until right now has been a key fundamental skill that you need to be developing non-stop if you want to become the best player that you can be. But remember, your goal right now is to be dropping 20 bombs. 20 bombs only come from fighting non-stop and being a really quick player. And a lot of people think to themselves that fighting non-stop means literally just going out of your way and fighting non-stop. But that's not quite the truth. Fighting non-stop also means that we want to reduce the amount of time during the fight where we're not actually shooting our gun. This could be stuff like healing, looking away, throwing abilities, repositioning, simple things like that. Things that literally keep you from shooting your gun. So here's some quick fire tips to get you continuously shooting that gun. Tip number 1, always be engaged. You should always be looking to shoot your gun and be dealing damage. If you don't have an angle, don't wait for that guy to come and peek out because you don't know if they're going to do that or not. Tip number 2 is do not hold areas. Unless you have to. Your goal is to be getting kills and moving to that next fight as quickly as you can. Only time that you should really be holding a zone down is if that team is going to be forced to come towards you. Fights are a lot like a fart. If you have to force it, it's probably shit. You'll find tons of fights where the team is just in an untouchable spot. Maybe they have high ground and you have no legends that can easily get up there. Or maybe you have mid-range to close-range weapons, and the team that you're fighting is hitting you with charge rifles from 100 meters away. Why would you play that fight in their favor? Instead, work that fight into your favor. Work your way up, or just completely leave that fight. There's going to be tons of fights that you can take elsewhere. Keep the pressure on people, and I cannot stress this one enough. If you found yourself in a scenario that you're winning, do not slow down. I see so many people who send me gameplay reviews during my coaching sessions where they will break an entire team and they sit back waiting for that team to repeat. If you're winning a gunfight, that team wants nothing to do with you anymore. Why would they continue to stand in the open? To let you kill them? Hell no. So when they back off, don't let them do that. Put the pressure on them. Go and advance on them. Be aggressive. And my last tip, use movement to push in, out, and stay within fights. There's 3 different ways that you're going to be using movement, and it's really just to keep up your health. Way number 1, you're using that movement to cross through the open to push a team while evading damage. You're trying not to get hit while you move forward. The second way is using that movement to stay in a fight while evading damage. Maybe you're fighting in an area where there's really not any cover that you can be playing off of. This is when you're going to be using movement techniques to dodge bullets, keeping your health up so that you can keep shooting in an area that doesn't offer any protection. And then way number 3, you're using that movement to back out of fights that maybe you're not winning, or maybe you just need to reposition without taking damage. Stuff like hitting wall jumps, super glides, super jumping out of the way. Those are going to be great ways to keep your health up while trying to back away from a fight. Now, if you learned something from that video and you want to continue learning about your own personal mistakes, consider booking a coaching session with me. I've coached over 1,000 players across the world from this year alone. I'll leave the link to my website in the description down below. And if you want to continue learning from videos like this, like and subscribe so that YouTube knows that you want to continue seeing these types of videos. Now, if you haven't already, I recently posted a coaching session where we're in ranked coaching a player through the steps they need to take if they want to progress and if they want to start winning more fights. Leave that video right here on your screen for you. Check it out. It was a great session. We ended up also dropping a 20 kill game as well as a 4,000 damage game.